Good afternoon. We are going loud. We're going to call to order the April 12th, 2018 Metro Planning Commission meeting. Thank you, Craig, for adjusting the sound. The first item on our agenda, I haven't even pulled up our agenda tonight, is an adoption of the agenda, which we should have a new version of it sitting at our desks, at our seats. Does everyone have it? Do I have a motion to approve? Second? Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Our next item is the approval of the March 22nd, 2018 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Hopefully everyone received those in the mail. Have you had a chance to review? Any comments or have a motion to approve? Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay. Next item is the recognition of council members, and I see Councilman Cooper.
Okay, even better. Okay, thank you. I'm here today really standing in for Kathleen Murphy, the council lady for District 24, who is quite sick today, but she's been in communication with me. I live in her district also and am a somewhat immediate neighbor to our item 9, 2018 S-046-001. And the council lady wanted me to come today and request that the commission defer this item, at least for a little while, and to request a meeting with staff and the applicant to answer a question that has come up as to what is exactly the current entitlement of the property. It's been, I think, a question raised by the applicant, and just so that there's a clear finding, I think you'll hear from some neighbors that they feel that the staff has issued a very good report on this, but there's still a question as what is the current entitlement, and then to communicate that with the neighbors, particularly the immediate neighbors, and then bring them into the discussion so that we can go forward fully informed, and that a deferral would be a way of accomplishing that. Thank you very much. So 2018 S-046-001, that when you come to that, if you would defer that at least for a meeting to allow this community engagement process to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other council members that we've missed? Okay. The next item is item E. That is the items for deferral or withdrawal. Lisa.
Okay, please note that if your case is deferred to April 26th, the location of that meeting is 2601 Bransford Avenue, the Metropolitan Public Schools Administration Building. The addresses and every information is on the screen. If an item on the agenda is deferred to May 10th, please note that that will be at 936 East Trinity Lane, which is the Metropolitan Police Precinct East Precinct. Items for deferral or withdrawal. Item 1A, 2018 CP 010001, Green Hills Midtown Community Plan Amendment, a request to change the community character from T4NE to T4 Mixed Use Corridor. The staff recommendation is to defer to April 26th, 2018. Item 1B, 2018 SP 026001, the Reservoir SP, located on page 5 of your agenda, a request to rezone from CS and RM20 to SP Mixed Use. Staff recommendation is to defer to the April 26th, 2018 meeting. Item 1C, associated on page 5, 2018 P 001001, is a request for a cancellation of a portion of a planned unit development. Staff recommendation is to defer to the April 26, 2018 meeting. Item number 2, 2015 SP 049003, the 1225 Steinbach Avenue SP amendment. It's a request to amend a specific plan. Staff recommendation is to defer to the May 10th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting. Item number 4 on page 6 of your agenda, 2018 SP 021001, the Curry Road Cottages SP. And that's a request to rezone from RS10 to SPR for properties located on Curry Road. Staff recommendation is to indefinitely defer that item. Item number 5 on page 6 of your agenda, 2017 S 217001, the Old Hickory Crossing subdivision. It's a request for a concept plan approval to create 108 single-family lots on Old Hickory Boulevard. Staff recommendation is to defer to the April 26, 2018 Planning Commission meeting. Item number 7, 2018 M 05900 OT 001, sorry, that 2018 M 00 OT 001. That's the Donaldson Transit-Oriented Redevelopment Plan on page 6 of your agenda. It's a request to establish a transit-oriented redevelopment district on various properties. Staff recommendation is to defer to the April 26, 2018 Planning Commission meeting. Item number 8, 2017 NHL 002002, the Bel Air Mansion Neighborhood Landmark Plan. It's a request to approve a development plan to permit a bed and breakfast. Staff recommendation is to defer to the April 26, 2018 meeting. And item number 11, 2018 S 059001, 1020 East Old Hickory Boulevard. It's a request for a concept plan approval to create up to 56 lots. Staff recommendation is to defer to the April 26, 2018 meeting.
Thank you, Lisa. So we have items for deferral. Item 1A, 1B, 1C, item 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 11.
Correct.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, you have heard the list of items for deferral or withdrawal. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second? Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. So we also had a request from the councilman on behalf of Council Lady Murphy to defer item number 9. Is the applicant here, and would you like to approach? And it would be up to us whether or not we want to move forward with adding that to the deferral list.
We'd certainly prefer not to, but we understand, frankly, this, and there is a factual issue that we knew is going to come up, and it probably is going to require some more conversation. So preferences aside, I think can we just make it one meeting, though? It shouldn't take it's just math.
Just math?
That's the only question.
Does that seem?
But I understand staff has to do the math.
Right.
And it's not a day or night difference. It's just a slight change in the plan. Should be a button somewhere.
I can always yell. So staff reports for the next meeting will be circulated at the end of next week, is all I would say. That's okay. So I would just suggest that if we meet next week, it may be difficult to turn it around in one meeting, but we do need to meet a 60-day time frame according to the subregs. So I would recommend a 2-meeting deferral if that meets the 60-day threshold.
And that's 60 days from today, or 60 days from when it was filed?
60 days from today.
From today. 2-meeting deferral?
The commissions will. Yeah, I mean, we understand, again, if it's going to back us up and we don't get all the information we need, and I understand the commission's not going to want to make a decision without information on the table that you need, so.
Well, I think we would like
Sure.
to honor the council lady's request
no, I
for a
understand.
community meeting and give you guys time to coordinate all of that.
I appreciate you saying that, because that helps me explain it to the client.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I needed, yes. We will agree to that 2-meeting deferral.
Okay, great. So commissioners, we have the option to defer item 9 for 2 meetings, and I don't remember the date of that meeting. It would be May 10th. May 10th.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Any other discussion? So all in favor of deferring item 9? Okay, thank you. All right,
And for those in attendance, that is the meeting that will be at the East Police Precinct.
great. We're going to be playing musical chairs for a while, I think. Okay, next item is the consent agenda.
As information to our audience, if you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Planning Commission today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Planning Commission's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact independent legal counsel. In regards to items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda are item number 3 on page 5 of your agenda, 2017 SP 048-001, the Somerset SP amendment. This is a request to amend a specific plan on properties located on Lebanon Pike. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions, and I would note that Councilmember Bednay is abstaining from item 3. Item number 12, 177-74P-004 on page 7 of your agenda, the Hyatt House. It's a request to revise the preliminary plan and for final site plan approval for a planned unit development overlay district for property located on Century Boulevard. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Item number 13, 2018 Z034PR-001. A request to rezone from R6 to MUNA zoning for property located at 2608 Old Buena Vista Road. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Item number 14, 2018 Z035PR-001 on page 7 of your agenda. A request to rezone from R6 to MULA zoning on property located at 358 Glen Rose Avenue. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Item 15, 2018 Z037PR-001, a request to rezone from RS5 to MULA for properties located on Foster Avenue. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Item 19, 2018 Z041PR-001 on page 8 of your agenda, a request to rezone from RS5 to RM15A for property located at 19 Willis Street. Under other business, item 20, confirmation of the Downtown Code Design Review Committee members. Staff recommends approval. And item 24, to accept the director's report and approve administrative items.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, so to recap, our consent agenda items are items number 3, items 12, item 13, item 14, 15, and 19, 20, and 24.
Correct.
Okay, great. Commissioners, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Great. Thank you very much. Okay, so for the audience, the items that we will be hearing tonight are items number 6, item 10, items 16, 17, and 18. And Councilman Sledge, I see you're here, and I'm thinking your item is the first one up, but if you would like to come forward now, you're welcome to. Oh, you can come over here. Either, I guess.
That one.
There we go. All right, for everybody else, it's the talking mouth thing. That's what you have to push. All right, I think I have the full house here today. I think I've got things in every sort of condition. So number 6 being 1088, 1090, 1092 12th Avenue South. So this one has staff recommendation to approve. I know that the neighborhood group has met with the applicant. I think there's a sort of an agree to disagree stance right here, and I think you're going to hear that from both sides on this issue. From a policy standpoint, I do think having a little more density on that corridor is appropriate. I have talked with the applicant. There was a delay in the applicant talking with the neighborhood, and that should fall squarely on my shoulders. I had just moved it down sort of my agenda, and it created a delay, so I apologize for that. But I would ask that you listen to everybody on this agenda. I do think it's worth approving, but I do think that the neighbors should be heard as well. I do have a couple others, I believe, as well, or at least I have number 10, 2018 S047001. This one has a staff recommendation of disapprove, which may be a first for me. This is a very odd situation. This is a corner lot in the neighborhood that has a conservation overlay. I believe I spoke with the owner of this lot right after getting elected almost 3 years ago, and there had been several things that were in flux. They were navigating different sort of avenues about what they wanted to look at doing. It's a very oddly shaped lot, and it's very large. It's a large corner lot, but because of where the house is located, she's asking for a subdivision that probably doesn't fit within the overlay as it is now put on, but could be built to meet the standards of the overlay. I didn't receive a whole lot of communication or requests for communication on this, but I do know that there are neighbors here. So what I would ask is just of the applicant and the residents who are here, if they can speak before, if they can get together, if anybody has questions before this item comes up before the commission. I just want to make sure that folks are able to get questions maybe asked out in the hall. But I think that's it. So anyway, thank the commission. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, well, the councilman got us kicked off. We are on item number 6. Do you want, for the record, I know a number of the commissioners were not here when this one was heard at the last meeting. So for those commissioners who were not there, including myself, can we just get a statement that you did watch the video? I don't know who was not here, actually. Okay, you watched it? Anyone else?
I did not watch it.
You did not watch it. So what's the here last time either? So what do they do?
You can open the public hearing and everyone can participate, or if you don't reopen the public hearing, then they won't be able to participate.
You were there. I saw you vote. Okay. Well, we'll make that determination once we get through the case.
Okay, so the first item up is item number 6. This is a request to rezone from R6 to RM20A on property located at 1088, 1090, and 1092 12th Avenue South. We are about 300 feet south of the intersection of 12th Avenue South and South Street. For some context, the subject properties are outlined in red. And this is the Rochelle Center at the corner of South Street and 12th Avenue South. This is Rose Park to the south of the site. Staff's recommendation is to approve with conditions. As a reminder, this was considered by the Planning Commission at your March 22nd meeting. The public hearing was held and was closed. The Planning Commission voted for a deferral for the applicant and the community to have an opportunity to meet, and that community meeting was held on April 3rd. The current zoning of the property is R6. As you can see on this slide, the site sits at the edge of that R6 1 and 2 family zoning. There is commercial CS and CN zoning located at the intersection of 12th and South. And then the site is surrounded by some RM20 zoning on the opposite side of 12th Avenue South and also to the south of the site. And then north of the site, you see some industrial zoning moving towards the interstate and then the downtown area. This is a street view of the site. It is comprised of these 2 lighter colored brick homes and the vacant space in between. This is the Rochelle Center to the left. And this is a view of the other side of 12th Avenue from the site and some development that's occurring under the existing RM20 zoning there. You've got downtown on the right-hand side of the screen. As a reminder, the zoning that's being requested is RM20A, and the A stands for Alternative Zoning District. These are special design-based districts that were adopted in 2011. At that time, there was a recognition that some of the existing zoning standards in the Metro Code, particularly things like minimum setback requirements, were working counter to the goals established in the community plans in Nashville Next in terms of creating pedestrian-friendly urban environments. Also, there was an acknowledgement that some of the existing zoning tools that were in place at the time, including specific plans and PUDs, were helpful in meeting community plan goals, but they could be a barrier to development activity, particularly on smaller sites, doing all of that legwork up front. So the intent was to create a non-site plan-based option that would support the implementation of the community plans, but would also incorporate strong urban design principles. And the districts, these alternative districts were actually updated in 2015 after they'd been in use for a little while to incorporate some additional standards based on some of the conditions that were being typically included in specific plans at the time. So the idea was that these would carry many of the same conditions and design standards that you would see in a smaller specific plan, just as a function of the zoning. Some of the standards of the requested RM20A zoning include a requirement for access from the alley. There is an alley to the rear of the site, and alley access is actually not required by the current zoning. There are also standards for the minimum width of the facade of the building. It needs to extend along a certain percentage of the property, as well as glazing and raised foundations. And those are all aimed at enhancing the pedestrian environment and creating an active streetscape with the building interacting with the street, which is important along a major arterial such as 12 South. And then the maximum height of this zoning district is 30 feet in the build-to zone. And then with a 15-foot step back, the building could go up to a maximum of 45 feet. That's actually less height than could be obtained under the current R6 zoning on this property. Another thing to note is that this zoning would create an opportunity for these parcels to be developed in a consolidated manner, which would result in an opportunity for access consolidation that would not exist if they were developed as individually zoned R6 parcels. The policy for this area is T4 Urban Neighborhood Evolving, which includes goals for more housing choice, particularly on sites directly along a major arterial such as 12 South that has existing transit, and also on seams adjacent to more intense policy areas. And as you can see, there is more intense T4 mixed-use corridor policy at the intersection of 12th and South. And you've also got some mixed-use policy to the north, and so this is kind of a seam right on the corridor. In these kinds of locations, the intensity of residential permitted by the RM20A zoning allows it to serve as a transition from more intense development at the intersection and along the corridor to less intense neighborhoods behind. And this would permit intensity that's consistent with the development that's occurring in the RM20 zoning across the street. But because this is an alternative district, and the one across the street is not, this would include those design standards intended to enhance the pedestrian realm and ensure a good urban neighborhood environment. Given the location and context of the site, the requested RM20A zoning is more consistent with the goals of the policy than the existing R6 zoning. It permits a moderate intensity of multifamily development that's appropriate in this location, and the design standards included in this district will ensure that the development reflects good urban design principles, regardless of when and who develops the site. It will support a pedestrian-friendly urban neighborhood, and therefore staff recommends approval with conditions.
Thank you. So, Commissioners, as we heard from the councilman, I think it's appropriate for us to go ahead and reopen the public hearing, despite the fact it was closed at the last meeting. So we'll go ahead and do that. Is the applicant here? As a reminder, please state your name and address. You'll have 10 minutes, and you can hold on to 2 for rebuttal.
Okay, my name is Troy Olson. I live. Turn it up. We deferred last time so that we had a chance to meet with the neighborhood association. We were able to do that. Myself and Sean were there along with 3 members. We had a nice short meeting, and they expressed their concerns that, you know, it really boiled down to aesthetics, that they were hoping that the building that we build is going to be a nice building, and that's what I plan on building. So that's pretty much how it went and brings us here. That's all I really have to say. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We'll have 2 minutes for you for rebuttal. Okay, so we'll go ahead and, is there anyone here speaking in support of the project? Please come forward. State your name and address.
Dwayne Cuthbertson, 1010 Ackland Avenue, and I just wanted to jump up and speak in support of this application. I think the zoning's appropriate given the location on the arterial street and the proximity to downtown. And we talk about needing more housing and doing it in a way that's contextual and adds value to the streetscape and the experience. And I feel like this zoning district hits a lot of those goals that we often talk about. And so, just for the record, I wanted to stand up and support it.
Thank you very much. Anybody here speaking in opposition? Please come forward. And state your name and address.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Metro Council. My name is Ronald Miller, 905 Villa Place, across the street from my neighbor. I'm a lifelong resident of the Edge Hill area. And I also am representing the Edge Hill Neighborhood Coalition. We are a group of concerned neighbors, faith-based institutions, and nonprofits within the Edge Hill community, interested in protecting the neighborhood as historic and diverse as it can be. On March 15, we first met with the appellant for the first time to hear his plan. As I said, it was a brief discussion. He met with the coalition. 1 week later, on March the 22nd, we came before this board. And the board recommendation was that we were to discuss some more. On April the 3rd, we met again. What I found out is that it's a nice project. And let's make it clear, we are not against density. Edge Hill is 1 square mile. And right now on the tables, there's over 3,000 units being proposed in that 1 square mile being built or either being proposed. So it's not about density. All we ask is that we be given a chance to look at the plans. When we met with him on the 4th, we got a one-sheet plan, site plan, that was really made for...
Sir, are you speaking on behalf of your neighborhood coalition?
I am too.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and add 3 minutes? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I'll watch my time. All right. A site plan that didn't show anything really, no more than the parking. We think that we deserve a right to have a seat at the table, just as other communities in Nashville have. Why not discuss before us what your plans are? We have worked with other groups. We get plans. It's not much, but something showing what we are looking at. So we ask that we be given a chance to either have a SP or either some type of plan and not just give a blanket cover for rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else speaking in opposition? If not, the applicant has 2 minutes for rebuttal if you'd like to come back forward. Okay, great. Then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And it's hard to see you guys. I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Commissioner Sims, if you don't mind.
I want to thank our councilman for this district for being willing to wait in here, and also own the fact that the conversations with the community were not anybody's real fault, just the idea of the commissioner the council person trying really hard to meet everybody's schedules. So thank you. And I also want to thank our my neighbor also, Trey Olson, although I've never met you except here, and for doing what I think is probably a good project. My concern about this has been that we are at the very beginning stages of beginning to dialogue about how we're going to have conversations with neighborhoods around corridors, with one of the major principles being put forward by both our mayor to come to us, as well as some of our council people, and I know the Affordability and Transit Task Force, which I served on, making one of the major principles being conversations with the community and their right to sign off and on. I can't come up with any reason why you want development asking the neighborhood to upzone that doesn't include conversations with the neighborhood. And if you, I know this I work with a lot of our neighborhoods, and I know if you work with them long enough, they will come to some type of agreement. Most people that care about land use in neighborhoods are rare, and those that do are very, I find them some of the most thoughtful people I know. I just think this sets a precedent for not involving neighborhoods in very serious conversations, and this one is particularly to me concerning because it's the first real crossing of the gulch into this neighborhood, and this is a 180-year-old neighborhood, and it is getting built out 1 square mile, getting built out 4,000 apartments. So density is not going to be an issue here. So that's where I am.
Commissioner Gobble?
Well, I actually think their request is reasonable. I agree with the staff's recommendation. I think, I understand the neighborhood's desire to see more, but everything can't be in SP zoning. And this seems like a logical way to do it, and it's consistent with the plan. It's consistent with what's going on in the area. So I'm comfortable with the staff's recommendation.
Commissioner Moore?
I do think the proposal is consistent with policy. It makes sense. I do always have a concern when neighborhoods feel like they're not being heard, but I was not at the last meeting, but I did watch, and I felt that there was an effort to have a meeting. So I guess I'll just listen to see what everyone else has to say, but right now I'm inclined to support staff's recommendation.
Councilman Bedney?
It is a smiling face. Councilman Sledge is right. I think we cannot force a developer to hire an architect and get all the drawings and so forth, but we can also not force the neighbors to accept something without the ability to measure the impact that it will have in their built environment. So I think I'm going to vote against this because I think everybody's property rights are important, the people that are being impacted by it and the people that are developing. So I don't feel that there has been the level of communication that we should have, so my attitude is to vote against it.
Commissioner Bichelle?
I wanted to ask a couple of questions about the alternative classification. How often has that been used since it was developed? And can you just talk about that a little bit?
So I'm not prepared to speak to how many times we've rezoned something to an A district since those went into effect. Bob, do you have some thoughts off?
I mean, I don't have the exact number of A districts, but we have rezoned frequently to the A district all over the city. I believe all of Midtown was rezoned to A districts. All of Gallatin Pike was rezoned to the A districts. And then there's been multiple properties along the East Bank downtown to A districts. And there are a number of properties scattered throughout the county that have been rezoned to A districts.
And so if I understand right, the community is wanting to have a voice because they want to have a say on the appearance of the property more than necessarily the exact density. Since density isn't the issue, it's more the appearance. But what I don't understand is it seems to me that this alternative design-based zoning does sort of control for some of those appearances that can sometimes concern a community, right?
So there are standards in the alternative districts for things like the bulk and form of the building, and that's controlled by the height and the build-to line where it will be placed relative to the street. There are also standards for some things that are more architectural elements, such as that there has to be an entrance on the street side, that there has to be a raised foundation if it's a residential structure, and for glazing or windows. I would say that SPs actually don't regulate architectural style. So the types of things that we would regulate in terms of design with an SP are often those same things. So things like glazing and entrances and raised foundations. We don't always get elevations at the preliminary SP stage. So in many ways, the A districts have captured a lot of the standards that you would see with an SP, particularly on smaller sites.
Okay, and so if, let's say they had an SP, they might not actually be approving exactly how it looks anyway, and even if they were approving or disapproving how it looks, that really would still be under control of the person who owns the property and their own designer. I mean, communities don't often weigh in on details like how it looks, correct?
Well, I can't speak to what developers and communities do amongst themselves, but as far as once it's in the process, the types of things that staff would be reviewing and making our recommendation on, even with an SP, have much more to do with the form and the placement of the structures, apart from those few architectural elements like entrances or glazing, than they do architectural styles, what it looks like. Sometimes there are standards for materials. That would be the only other category.
Okay, so I will listen to the last couple and then I'll make my vote.
Commissioner Tibbs.
I've kind of followed the train of thought that Commissioner Gobble, although I wish, I always understand how the community wants to have involvement, and this is such a, it's a good thing that the community wants to see it and have some input on it, but to me it very clearly follows, it's a quarter and it meets all the requirements for the zone change, and I feel like, I agree with staff recommendation on it. Perhaps I don't think we actually can mandate, but maybe Councilman Sledge can, get another meeting with them once the renderings are set up and, open it up for the community to at least see it. But I mean, that's something that I could recommend that he do, just to kind of keep the conversation, because it's a great thing that the community wants the involvement. That's kind of what we're all about, in encouraging them to do so. But from a development standpoint, it's pretty, to me, it just falls right into the standards of what we're looking for this area. And I drive down this corridor almost daily, so I've seen what's been happening in the neighborhood already, how much it's changed, and definitely density is definitely there and coming fast. So I would right now, though, would definitely be would vote in approval with what staff recommendations.
Commissioner Haynes.
I'm going to support staff's recommendation, and I'll make a motion to move approval.
Okay. Did you? So we have a proper motion and second. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor of approving staff's recommendation of approval?
Aye.
Can I see a show of hands, because I can't count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we've got 5, and all opposed? 1, 2. Okay, motion carries 5-2. Oh yeah, 6-2. All right, we are on item number 10.
The next item on this evening's agenda is item 10. This is a request for final plat approval to create 2 lots. Staff's recommendation is to disapprove. This property is located at 2020 10th Avenue South at the southeast corner of 10th Avenue South and Benton Avenue and contains 0.41 acres along with 1 single-family dwelling. The site is currently zoned R8, which is intended for single-family dwellings and duplexes. The policy for the site is T4 urban neighborhood maintenance, which is intended to maintain the general character of existing urban residential neighborhoods. This image illustrates the proposed plat. Lot 1 is proposed to contain 8,955 square feet, along with 45 lineal feet of frontage. Lot 2 is proposed to contain 8,837 square feet and 39 lineal feet of frontage. Both lots are limited to access from the alley. No driveway connection will be permitted to 10th Avenue South. Lot 1 is approved for 1 single-family dwelling due to sanitary sewer constraints per the requirements of Metro Water. This site is located within the Waverly Belmont Historic Conservation Overlay District. Effective January 29th of 2016, the purpose of the overlay is to establish design guidelines for new construction, additions to existing structures, demolition, relocation of structures, setback determinations, and in addition to these guidelines, the subdivision regulations provide compatibility criteria within designated historic districts. Section 354 of the subdivision regulations establishes criteria for determining compatibility within designated historic districts. A proposal must meet the following requirements. It must meet the minimum lot size of the R8 zoning district, Metro Historic Zoning Review. In this instance, Metro Historic Zoning Commission has recommended disapproval as the resulting lots will not allow for the continuation of the historic rhythm and spacing as required by the design guidelines. Agency review. The plat has received a recommendation of approval from all of the Metro Development Review agencies. This image provides the lot dimensions of the surrounding lots, which Metro Historic has based their recommendation upon. In conclusion, staff's recommendation is to disapprove. Staff recommends disapproval as the proposed lots are located within a neighborhood conservation district, and Metro Historic Zoning Commission has recommended disapproval as the proposed lots will not allow for a continuation of the historic rhythm and spacing.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is the applicant here? Please come forward. I think you know the drill, but name and address and you'll have 10 minutes. Sure. The one in the middle with the mouth.
Got it.
There you go.
Dwayne Cuthbertson, 1010 Ackland Avenue. Actually, sorry, 2814 12th Avenue South is the new address. As Mr. Napier provided for you, our request is to subdivide this property into effectively two single-family lots, even though the property is zoned R8, which would allow for duplex dwellings. We're asking for a subdivision to create 2 lots. We've talked to historic staff, and early on we asked because this is an overly wide lot, it's almost 90 feet, we asked if there was the possibility to do 2 independent dwellings on this property, and the answer to us, provided in email, was no. So the only other alternative in our mind to allow for 1 extra dwelling on this property was to attempt a subdivision. So again, our intent is to provide 1 additional single-family dwelling on this property. It's in historic. This house, there's no argument, is contributing, and our intent is to restore it and maybe provide a small addition on the back, again, in compliance with historic's design guidelines. I think it's important to note that this subdivision, but for the historic overlay district, is consistent with all of the compatibility requirements that the subregs provide for lots in the neighborhood maintenance policy area. It complies with the width criteria and the lot area criteria. We're certainly willing to restrict access to the alley, and we're also open to the typical scale limitations that this Planning Commission and planning staff often apply to these types of lots. So 2.5 years ago, when Historic was not on this property, you could have taken down that house and created two. It'd be administrative. It wouldn't be before this body. We would have created 2 duplex eligible lots for up to 4 dwelling units on this property. The house would come down, and again, you'd have 4 market rate houses on this property. Now that Historic's it has jurisdiction over and a recommendation that guides your decisions on this subdivision, we're limited to 1 house. And it's not 1 new house. We have to keep the existing house per their recommendation. You can't build a second one to the side. You can't build a second one on the back. You have to keep what exists. And it's a fairly small house. So additions to this house would be relatively small on the backside. That's a pretty significant hit for this property owner, where 2.5 years ago, she had a pretty valuable lot that would allow 4 units. Now she's got 1, an existing house. That's a massive hit in value for her. And I know you guys can't consider value, but it's a massive hit in value for her, where this lot was worth, I don't even want to guess. Now it's worth considerably less. It's also a significant step back in the efficient use of urban land. We have 0.41 acres, and we're saying you get 1 house, 1 dwelling here. That's a pretty significant step back, and I think a step in the direction that counters a lot of the goals that this commission has for urban infill. We want vibrant urban neighborhoods, and we feel like our subdivision is consistent with that. Historic's recommendations suggest that the proposed subdivision would not permit for continuation of rhythm of spacing. My argument is that the proposed lots are compatible with many of the lots in the surrounding context. We're proposing mid-40-foot, 45-foot wide lots. If you peel back the map, the parcel map, you'll find plenty of lots in the surrounding context that have a similar width. And there are also corner lots, and many of the houses on these corner lots bump right up to the street, or they're 5 feet from the street. We're proposing a subdivision with a 10-foot utility easement on Benton Avenue, so we're certainly guaranteeing that you're going to have space between what we would propose as a second dwelling on this property and Benton Avenue. We feel like we've got the experience to work with Historic staff to create something that is compatible with the context. If you look at the existing lot today, I would argue that it is the anomaly. It's 90 feet wide. You don't find many 90 feet wide lots in this part of 12 South. And again, to say that a 90-foot wide lot in a neighborhood that's got many 50-foot wide lots, many of them with 2 units on them, is out of character. If we're proposing 1 additional house, to me, it's just, there's something that doesn't seem right about that. Again, we're talking about the rhythm of the street. If you're going down 10th Avenue, you find house. You get to this lot, you go house, wide side yard. It's a gap, I would submit, in the fabric of this street. And what we're trying to do is fill that gap with something that we feel, and we'd have to work with Historic on what we put back on, what we put on that extra lot. So it would have to meet the design guidelines. It would have to be built to a scale and orientation that was compatible with the fabric of the neighborhood. We have worked hard to gain a lot of support from the neighborhood. This is 12 South. It's like a lot of our core neighborhoods. They love to come out and tell you that they don't want any more development. We've got 80 letters of support that I've submitted for the record. Almost all of them are from an area of about 1,000-foot radius from this property. To this point, we've had no opposition. You guys got 1 email on the record in opposition. We talked to that owner, and she's since recanted her email of supports in that packet that you guys have. So to this point, we've had no opposition. I think you're going to hear from one surrounding homeowner that may have some concerns, but it's 12 South. you usually get a lot of opposition to infill development, and we don't have that here. In fact, we've got a lot of support. You've also got a mock-up of an architectural rendering for what we think we can accomplish on the lot. It considers the existing scale, the scale of the existing house and what we propose next door. And again, we feel confident that we can work with historic staff and do something that complements the charm, the rhythm and spacing of this neighborhood. So again, I just want to reiterate, but for historic, we wouldn't be in front of you. This would be 2 duplex eligible lots. Now with historic's recommendation, you get to keep the one house with no additional dwellings. So I'd urge you to support this subdivision to allow one additional dwelling on this significantly larger duplex eligible lot. And with that, I'll rest for any questions and reserve the remaining 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody here speaking in support of this project? Please come forward if you would like to speak, if you'd like to address the commission. You'll have 2 minutes. Please state your name and address.
Yes, ma'am. Seth Jennings, 2221 Grantland Avenue. I live in the neighborhood, and I like a lot of what Historic's done. A perfect example of this, actually. Look there to the house right below to the right there. That's what I believe, what I was told when Historic came in, was that's their biggest concern, and folks, the neighbors' biggest concern is these tall skinnies. Tearing down houses and building up a few. I believe if they had sold, excuse me, if these folks had sold a few years ago, they could have put up 4 right there, which is obviously a concern for folks in the neighborhood just packing these houses in like sardines. But this is a little different. This is why Historic is, I don't agree with them on this, this situation, because we've got basically a vacant lot there. And not only would a house, like Mr. Cuthbertson said, be more conducive, instead of just going house, 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 vacant lot, go house, 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 house. On top of that, this house, I believe, has to be built under the guidelines of Historic. So they can't just slap up whatever they want to. There's only a certain amount of square footage, height, et cetera. So it's going to look more historically conducive to the neighborhood than just a vacant lot. I think also neighborhood support. I believe you mentioned 80 letters were in there. One of those letters is mine. One of them is Mr. Truex, who lives right there to the north of the property, Harrison and Katie Truex, who are neighbors who are in favor of this as well. But lastly, the biggest thing that would concern me, I'm not sure if y'all can take this into account or not, but I know a couple of the family are here. Ladies, wave. This is that's their mother who passed, and she obviously willed it to them as an inheritance, and they're going to lose a couple $100,000 or more over the situation, which I don't think is right in this situation, especially considering it's a vacant lot. So I'm in favor or I'm against their disapproval. Pardon me. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wanting to speak in support?
Thank you.
We need your name and address.
I'm Jasper Hatcher, 850 Glen Avenue. Excuse me. I have a property at 850 Glen Avenue that I've had owned since the 90s. And actually, I'm the realtor for the family. I've been in real estate business for, I don't want to say, since '86. But anyway, my position is in favor of it. And actually, I was really shocked when I put it on the market at over $1 million, thinking it would be worth that amount as a realtor. And then come to find out, Historic had an overlay on it. And then I had the duties of telling the sellers that the property was, substantially devalued. And living there at 850 Glen, my property is included also. So I agree with the developers that it was substantially worth more 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, before Historic overlay. And now, with the family having to sell. They have 3 sisters, that's 4 sisters, 1 deceased sister with children, and 1 brother. And the administrator has the duties of trying to sell this property at the highest value to support her siblings. And if you put yourself in that situation, you want the most for your family. And it looks like my time is up, but.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else speaking in support?
Hi, my name is William Smallman, 1512 Paris Avenue. I feel like I'm too loud, is that all right? Okay. All right. So on this one, I think just a couple points. I am in support. I did just a little bit of research about the context of the neighborhood to show kind of rhythm and spacing. This lot, I actually zoomed out 600 feet, which I believe is the distance that all the mailers went out. Out of the 600 feet, all the properties in that area, this is the largest frontage. It is larger by over 10 feet, which I, again, think, kind of like Mr. Cuthbertson said, does somewhat qualify this property as the anomaly, that it is the largest. Not that it is, adding a second house would bring it more in context. So the other part of that is I did historic measures things on a immediate context. At 88 feet, if you go to the immediate context, this lot is 88% bigger than surrounding properties, 88%. After it is split, it will only be 13% smaller per lot. So what we're doing here by creating 2 is actually bringing it only 13% below average instead of 88% above average. I struggle with that, feeling like it's not creating better context than what we're currently in. The other thing I'd like to add is I've built many homes in the historic overlay. It is a very thorough process, and the homes that come out of there are beautiful. Robin and her team do an amazing job helping us create great products, and I feel very confident that on this lot, we can come up with an excellent plan that will fit the neighborhood just like historic wants, and will actually have a better outcome than the current environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you coming forth to speak in support? Okay, please come forward. You'll each have 2 minutes. Please state your name and address.
My name is Glenda Hughes. Gwendolyn Joyce Murray was my mom. I'm a little nervous. I don't understand how the Historic Commission can tell us what we can do with the property. We have gotten so many correspondence in the mail over the years from different people wanting to buy the property, you know, at a good price. And now, you know, it's like, you know, we're barely going to get anything for it. I don't know, I just don't understand.
Well, we will, as part of our deliberations, have a chance to ask some questions of the Historic Commission.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patricia Andrews. I'm another daughter. I live at 590 Neal Avenue, and I approve of what they're trying to do with our property, and I agree with my sister. I don't understand how somebody can tell you what you can and cannot do with your property, but I am in approval with what they're trying to do. I think it would improve the community if it's facing the Benton Avenue side opposed to the 10th Avenue side. I understand that our house cannot be torn down, and which is fine, but another thing, I think it would be approved, would benefit the area, the community, if another house is built, you know, on that property. Because we got enough to where it's not gonna be too much of anything, the way I feel. So I am in approval of what they're trying to do with our property. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wanting to speak in support?
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Sonia Smith. I live at 2300 10th Avenue South. I have been fighting with historic since they even put the overlay in or over or whatever it is that they're doing. And I've called. They said that I could to go and have someone to. Let me start over. I'm nervous.
That's okay.
Let me get it together.
Yeah, it's okay.
So I live at 2300 10th Avenue South. My family has owned that house since 1964. My grandparents gave it to me. Before the overlay was put in place, I called the council person. They told me to go and survey my neighbors. I am a non-conforming duplex. Before that, so I'm a non-conforming duplex. I have a non-existent alley that Public Works uses every week that I have paid the taxes on, and the family's paid the taxes on since 1964. They've told me that because of all of that, Historic has said, and then they put in this overlay. I was told by planning that I could put up a dadu. They didn't give me the permit to do it. I know this is not about me, it's about her. I got it. But I'm in support of Historic, or her case with Historic and the overreach. They would not allow me to develop my property because of a proposed overlay. It wasn't even in place. It wasn't there. I'm proud that she's here today because they would not even let me get here today to tell you about my case. Okay. And you can't sell it. I gotta stop talking.
Yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming down, telling us your story.
Okay, I'll come back one day, okay?
Okay. Are you speaking in support?
In support.
Okay.
Ronald Miller, property owner at 2314 10th Avenue South. Known the family for a number of years. I'd just like to say I'm in support of the change.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else speaking in support? Yes. Hello.
Good afternoon. I'm here in support. Just like Ms. Smith stated, we've had difficulties since 2015. So in support of another family, I'm in support of this motion, and hopefully you guys will hear our story as well. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Yes, we do need your name and address. Thank you.
I am Kendra Thompson, 2300 10th Avenue South.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. Everyone in support. Are we done with support? Okay.
Make one comment?
No. We've already had.
Well, not about support. Just there's a gentleman that wants to speak. He went to the wrong building because of the change, so he is on his way over here. But he's speaking as a community member, not as applicant or anything. I don't know if there's any way to grant him a small window of leeway for that. He read the original address.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and with the, we need to go forward with the hearing. Anybody in opposition? Same story. Please give us your name and address, and you'll have 2 minutes.
My name is Jeff Meltison. I live at 2026 10th Avenue, and opposition may be a strong word, but concerned. I was in favor of the conservation overlay and really take to heart the staff recommendations then on things that they want to disapprove. Rhythm and space in the street, keeping the neighborhood conserved for what it was. Putting in a house there, it doesn't really feel like an empty lot living on that block. There's 3 other houses that are right across the street from it. I doubt that they would say that that's an empty lot right across the street from them. in terms of the developer and talking about the 80 people that support it, nobody ever came to speak with us about the proposal. We literally live 3 houses down. When we worked on the conservation overlay, we got letters of support from the people who supported the overlay and brought them in front of the group. I don't know if they have letters of support to back up their claim. We're concerned with anything that goes against the conservation overlay. We fought for that hard to preserve the neighborhood, and so it's a concern. You know, obviously I respect people's property rights, but we want to be mindful of the overlay that's in place. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in opposition? If not, then we will allow the applicant the 2 minutes for rebuttal.
I just want to reiterate that the subdivision we're proposing, it complies with all the requirements of the subregs per the maintenance policy, but for historic. And we feel like what we're proposing is consistent with the intent of the historic overlay. Having lived in that neighborhood as well when that overlay was going in, I feel like many neighbors supported that as a reaction to what was happening in the neighborhood at that time. There were a lot of houses that were poorly oriented. You had garages at the facade. You had houses that were 3 stories tall. And there was a reaction, an emotional reaction to that type of infill. And the conservation overlay was the tool that bubbled to the top, simmered to the top. I feel like the conservation overlay was put in place really to address the worst case scenarios. We feel like what we can accomplish with this subdivision, while it doesn't get this property back to the entitlements it had prior to the overlay, it helps us meet in the middle. And I feel like what we can do on this property is compatible or consistent with the guidelines. I feel like we've reserved the spacing with the side setback up against Benton, and we will have enough space between the houses so that there is a consistency in the rhythm of the street, if you will. This doesn't set a precedent. There aren't really any other 80, 90-foot wide lots in this neighborhood that you can point to and say, well, you did it here, now you do it there. So I just argue that I feel like we can be consistent with this subdivision, and I'd urge you to support it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I guess just one point of reminder for us on the commission, this is a subdivision, so we are we are making the final decision, just to keep that part in mind. Can you, Bob or Jason, give us just kind of a little bit, I mean, we're used to seeing subdivisions that have come with a recommendation for disapproval, but can you explain to us the role of the historic overlay on that?
Do you mind if maybe historic speaks?
Yeah.
Sorry. Do you mind if historic maybe speaks first and then that part of it, just so
sure.
They can give more eloquently the why they were against it. And maybe that'll help us make our decision.
Yes, sure.
Hi, I'm Robin Ziegler. I'm with the staff with the Metro Historic Zoning Commission. And if you don't mind, I'll just read something I prepared for you so I don't miss any points that might be useful to you in your deliberation. For the Metro Historic Zoning Commission, it's the immediate historic context is what is used to determine the appropriate massing of infill. Typically, we use the block face, but in this case, the houses on the opposite side of 10th don't face 10th, and so therefore we use the two blocks south of the block and the block south on the east side that are all oriented to 10th. Within that area, there are 4 historic homes, and in looking at context, that's what the Historic Zoning Commission uses, are the historic homes, not necessarily the non-contributing homes. The 2 new lots will be approximately 45 and 46 feet in width, within a context of lots that are all 50 to 60 feet wide and more. Therefore, the new lot will not meet the immediate historic context. The resulting house will also not be able to meet the historic context because of that narrow width of the lot. The design guidelines state that and I'm quoting here, setback from front and side yard property lines established by adjacent historic buildings should be maintained. Generally, a dominant rhythm along a street is established by uniform lot and building width. Infill buildings should maintain that rhythm. In addition, the design guidelines state, and again I quote, "The size of a new building and its mass in relation to open spaces shall be compatible by not contrasting greatly with surrounding historic buildings." So that gives you an idea of what historic zoning will be looking at if it's subdivided and they're looking at a new building. The resulting space of the new building will not meet the context, assuming the new development will meet the minimum base zoning setbacks of 10 feet from the side street and 5 feet from the right side interior property line. The resulting house will be about 31 feet wide, which in itself could be appropriate. However, the rhythm along the street is something that, again, the design guidelines also contemplate. The right side of the new home will be approximately 10 feet from the historic home to the right, which is less than the spacing that you see between historic buildings on these two blocks. MHCC staff concluded that the width of the new lot, which will be narrower than the historic context, will not allow for a new building that fully meets the design guidelines for scale, setback, and rhythm of spacing. So our role is in planning can, correct me if this is wrong, but our role in this is for staff to make a comment on subdivisions that are in the overlay. This does not come from the Metro Historic Zoning Commission, it comes from staff, and this is our review of the area.
Okay, thank you. Do you have the map, or Patrick, do you have the map that shows us which properties we're comparing to again? Okay.
In terms of what we were looking at?
Yeah, I think his map showed them as well.
We were looking at 2024, which is a contributing building. So from the alley, that's 2 lots up, and then below the alley, 2030, and then below that is 2032. Oh, thanks. And those are the 4 historic buildings. So the existing building here, this building is historic, and these 2.
Okay. Can I ask one more question of you? Can you just remind us what the guidelines are for new homes that are built in the conservation overlay?
In terms of the setback from front and side yard property lines established by adjacent historic buildings should be maintained. Generally, a dominant rhythm along a street is established by uniform lot and building width. Infill buildings should maintain that rhythm. The size of a new building and its mass in relation to open space shall be compatible by not contrasting greatly with surrounding historic buildings.
And I just wanted to remind the commission, when the subdivision regulations were amended several years ago for infill subdivisions, that was a big, this was a big point of discussion, was how do you deal with historic areas, and that we're going to look at these a little differently than we would an area outside of a historic overlay. And so in maintenance areas, neighborhood maintenance policy areas, outside of historic overlays, it's really just a mathematical calculation that we run to see if it's consistent with the frontage and the size of the lot. But we felt like you couldn't just do a mathematical calculation in historic districts to determine if they're compatible. So it was set up where we would get a recommendation from Historic Zoning Commission staff to help guide our recommendation as to the rhythm and spacing and the character of the historic area in these instances. So that's why because not all of them are created equal, and there's differences in historic districts, and it's still the same end result that the commission will make the final decision. And if you can find a way that this is somehow compatible or harmonious with a larger area, then you can still approve this subdivision. It's just we are basing our recommendation on historic's recommendation, and that has to do with the spacing and rhythm and the character of the immediate area right here. But if you feel like there's a larger area to look at, you can always do that as well.
Real quick, Robin, so the house is contributing. Is it actually toward Benton right now? Is that how it's faced, toward Benton?
Its faces 10th. It's right here,
so
and it's oriented to 10th.
The front door is on 10th?
Yes.
Okay. I was wondering if it was facing Benton, if the vacant, if both of those houses were facing Benton, would that?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, would that be more? Seems like that may be more compatible, actually, but.
Well, Commissioner Tibbs, would you like to get us started? Any other questions?
you know, obviously I have two hats on during this one. From just straight planning, you do see the extra, you know, the side lot and, you know, the extra width does seem like it would make a good case to do this, and, you know, first look at it, that was definitely my first impulse. But, you know, we do have a historical context to look at, and kind of as one of the neighbors said, you know, we try to look at this whole area and we look at these overlays. I was just looking at it, if the house was, I guess, to the right of it, and it was facing Benton, it would have the same, basically the same setback as all the houses on Benton if it was that way, as opposed to, I'm afraid it's going to look a little bit more like the houses right next to it. They won't be tall, skinny, but they will. It is going to be a lot less of a width of a house. I think I saw 46 feet, but I may be off on that. So, you know, it's just something that we just look at. It's not the, you know, this is trying not to speak strictly from a historical standpoint, but we do try to make sure that we do things that don't corrupt the overlay. I would still not be totally opposed to it. I mean, I think as the architect brought up, there are, you know, the staff is good, and they'll work with it to try to see what was the best way and get the best result out of it. But it will be a smaller building, smaller home. It will not as well fit into the context. But I'm kind of, you know, I think I would be really interested if you could face Benton, but I don't know, that probably changes the whole configuration of the existing houses, and that's the contributing house. So I've talked a lot and said probably not a lot, but I will say I'm not totally opposed to it, but I do have severe reservations based on how it could impact the rest of the overlay and set precedent, and, you know, what happens here, why can't it happen on another neighborhood, and how it changes.
Thank you. Commissioner Michelle?
Okay, so a couple different things. One thing I wanted to know about was right now it permits a maximum of 2 lots with 2 duplex lots for a total of 4 units.
That's what the base R8 zone district would allow. However, I will note that Metro Water, due to sanitary sewer constraints, has placed a note on the plat for the lot, which would actually front the corner, to only allow for 1 single-family dwelling unit.
To be added.
Yes.
So if the lot was not subdivided, there could still be another unit added to it.
Well, I would defer to historic and the guidelines for what the overlay would permit. So just on the base zoning, perhaps, but because of the overlay, that may not be allowed.
Okay.
I can answer.
Okay.
We don't dictate the number of units. That's dictated by zoning, but we would review the design.
So, and if another unit were added, it would have to fit into the historic nature, the architecture, the feel, everything.
If a second unit was added, we would give the advice of either a detached accessory dwelling unit in the back or a second unit as an addition to the existing house.
Okay, and I guess what I don't understand is that, so if this is split into 2 lots, then they still can only add 1 extra unit on the second lot. Okay.
And they could still add a second unit on the existing historic building. That is from my understanding.
They could still add a second unit on the back of the existing historic building.
Because that is its zoning. We don't dictate that at all.
But historic would.
Again, they could do it as a detached accessory dwelling unit or as a rear addition that would be reviewed using the design guidelines.
Okay, that's enough questions for now.
Councilman Bedney?
Question for the staff. When they created this overlay, this conservation, did they give the property owners the ability to exclude their property? I mean, that's what happened when I tried to rezone properties in my district.
Historic zoning has to be contiguous. We can't just pick pieces in and out of the middle of it. But the councilmen always work very closely with the neighborhood, and we start with a large area that is what qualifies. And then usually it whittles down from there, from the edges. You know, a few people are taken out. So we can take people out of the edges, but we can't pick and choose out of the middle.
Okay, but was this property owner given the opportunity to remove their property?
No, because that would be picking out of the middle.
So the answer is no.
Correct.
Thanks.
Can I ask another question before? Yeah. In general, when historic overlays come in, that actually stabilizes and often improves the property values, correct?
Those are studies that I've seen done all over the country. I haven't seen anything that says that they lower property values.
Okay, so I, at this point, am inclined to disagree, even though I have a strong sensitivity for historic properties, and I've always lived in historic properties, conserved historic properties. It's really important. I drove around the neighborhood and I saw that it is a problem when these other houses that don't fit in are built, and I appreciate the overlay. And I also appreciate how this one is really kind of a touchy case because it's just a teeny bit too small to be the perfect rhythm. And so I do think that in this particular case, it probably warrants splitting. I had one other question. He kept mentioning a package of 80 support letters. I never saw that.
I left them
Oh, okay.
I left them over here because they were together in a file, so.
Oh, okay. Could those just be passed around while we're, yeah. So I would be inclined to disagree with recommendations.
Commissioner Haynes?
So can the council person perhaps come up and explain, were you the district council person when the overlay was passed?
We were here.
And we were here?
We were here.
I think it was mentioned in the slideshow, because I don't want to get the date wrong. We worked on this in late 2015. I think it went into full effect right around the 1st of 2016. I think pending legislation was probably in December of 2015 or right around that time frame. I'll just give you my sort of, as I think somebody who spoke earlier, a neighbor spoke earlier, a lot of the conversation about the overlay was about context, was a lot about, there were things that were being built in the neighborhood that were very much out of context, while allowed in the base zoning, very much out of context. I say that because one of the things that I spoke to a lot was the fact that the overlay was not changing base zoning. And so I spoke with several property owners who were concerned. That was their main concern, that would change their base zoning. And of course, the overlay does not, but as you're hearing, it sometimes can impact the practicality of being able to comply or get the most out of your base zoning. So that's the context.
And did you have several people on the outer edges?
There was opposition, and there were so many non-conforming structures at the time, new houses, quite frankly, that it was the percentage of the conforming was just not there. Plus, the support wasn't there from the neighborhood. I trimmed probably off every corner of the overlay before bringing it to you.
So, I think this is an unintended consequence of this overlay. I think when we're talking about rhythm, I think the 90-foot lot is not in rhythm with the rest of the street. So I'm going to agree with you to the not against staff recommendation.
Sadly for me, though, there are so few tools for neighborhoods to use to protect themselves that this historic overlay is one of the very few tools that are in the toolbox. What we know from hard research is that over time, the value of the properties do go up. However, there are going to be those places while those properties climb that end up being hurt. And it just kills me to hurt somebody that needs this done. I'm a little afraid to mess with the overlay because it's the closest thing we come to a covenant with a neighborhood. And if this had more lots in there that were this size, I would absolutely have to say no, because I think it just sets a precedent that every single lot from then on is going to get divided. However, for every rule there is an exception. And I think in this case we have a strong overlay protecting a really important neighborhood, and making an exception is not going to diminish the covenant with the neighborhood. So I don't want to vote yet, but I think that's where I'm thinking right now.
Commissioner Gobble?
Yeah, this is tough. This is a real tough one. First of all, I am a huge fan of conservation overlays. They do, in fact, stabilize neighborhoods. They do help continuity, and the rhythm of it is a very important part. You know, when I look at this, and I was on the Historic Zoning Commission for a couple of decades, and the challenge is that along 10th, there's not a lot of rhythm left with the non-conforming stuff. To me, the rhythm is more on Benton and that issue. And if you do, as the applicant's requesting, you're going to be actually seeing the back of that unit. It's going to be sticking out in front of the houses along Benton. And I think there's an opportunity to get another unit on that lot facing Benton. It seems like we did something like that at one point in time back when I was on the commission. So I see the need for it, but I'm kind of supporting staff at this point.
Commissioner Moore?
I think at this point, I really agree with Commissioners Bichelle and Haynes. It's really tough because I am very respectful of any historic overlay, but looking at the properties here, it just doesn't seem like it will really throw off the rhythm of the street to me. And so right now I'm inclined to disapprove of staff's recommendation.
So one other item that we can consider, because obviously there is some concern about duplexes, is just making sure, considering that we look at a condition that the second lot remains single family. Right? We can put a condition like that on there.
Yes.
Can I ask one more question? If I understand the current zoning, a detached accessory dwelling unit can be built in the rear?
That's what we're hearing.
Yes.
With design review.
Robin, is that correct?
That is correct.
So if I look at that map, maybe with the exception of the lot next door to it, there are very few detached accessory dwelling units in the rear, and I have to think about what's in the best aesthetic view of the neighborhood. I think a separate lot, as proposed, is better than a detached accessory dwelling unit in the rear.
So we need a motion, unless there's any other discussion at this time.
I'll make a motion to disapprove staff's recommendation with a condition that the lot be a single-family home.
And do we need to state why I think we need to your original statement about this meeting the harmonious.
That I believe the 90-foot lot is not harmonious, and the subdivision of the two lots will be more harmonious with 10th Avenue.
That is a proper motion. Do we have a second? Okay. Any other discussion?
So to be clear, it was a motion to approve with conditions.
No.
With that,
No, motion to disapprove.
well, disapprove staff's recommendation, but to approve this subdivision with the condition that it's limited to single family for the
Correct.
reason stated by Commissioner Haynes?
Correct.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Can I get a show of hands? Aye. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And all opposed? 1, 2. No, I'm 6. I don't count myself. All right. 6-2 motion to approve carries. All right. We are moving on to item 16.
The next item on the agenda is item 16. The request is for a zone change from the single-family residential RS5 zoning district to the two-family residential R6A zoning district. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. The current graphic on the screen is an image of the 0.32 acre site, which is located at 1519 Meridian Street, approximately 75 feet south of Marshall Street in the Highland Heights neighborhood. Existing site conditions include a single-family house that is oriented to Meridian Street with access to an existing alley. The site is adjacent to an existing small warehouse on the other side of the alley to the south. The site is also served by existing public transit with a bus stop located approximately 400 feet south of the site. The site is zoned RS5. Adjacent zoning districts include the commercial limited and commercial service zoning districts, as well as the single-family residential zoning district RS5. The site is in the T4 Urban Neighborhood Evolving Policy Area. This policy area is intended to create and enhance urban residential neighborhoods that provide more housing choices, improve pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular connectivity, and moderate to high-density development patterns with shallow setbacks and minimal spacing between buildings. The proposed R6A zoning district will allow this site, once redeveloped, to enhance the neighborhood through urban design standards such as raised foundations and alley-only vehicular site access. Also, the proposed R6A zoning district will provide an opportunity to provide additional diversity of housing types within the immediate area. The request at this location is consistent with the T4 Urban Neighborhood Evolving Policy at this site. Therefore, staff recommendation is to approve with conditions.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Hi. Can you come forward? We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing.
I wish you guys had a frequent flyer program. I know it wouldn't be at the top of the list, but I'm gaining momentum, it feels like.
It's your night tonight.
Tonight. Dwayne Cuthbertson, 2814 12th Avenue South, and we're in agreement with the staff. We are asking that you approve this zone change from RS5 to R6A. It's consistent with the policy. The redevelopment will achieve a lot of the goals that, again, are put forward by this commission and the city to support reinvestment in core urban neighborhoods in an incremental way. This is just a step up from RS5. We're not asking to blow out this lot and do townhouse development, even though we're right next to a candy maker to the south, almost an industrial use. The R6A, it gives us an incremental bump in density and allows us to redevelop this lot in an efficient way. It's consistent with the existing policy. There has been an ongoing conversation in Highland Heights the overall community is re-looking at the community plan, and there have been many discussions, public discussions about the community plan and updating the policy, making changes where the community sees fit. Through all of those discussions, I feel like there's been consensus along this corridor, Meridian, and then moving west towards Dickerson, that it maintains this neighborhood evolving policy. So I'd submit that we're consistent with the existing policy, which is the tool that you use to review current zone change applications, but we're also consistent with conversations that are ongoing and what appears will remain the neighborhood evolving policy over this corridor. So with that, I'll rest for questions and reserve the remainder of my time, or 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. So is there anyone here speaking in support of this item? Anyone speaking in opposition? Please come forward. I know you two know what to do, but 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Name and address.
So good afternoon. My name is Gordon Stacy Harmon. I reside at 1826 Joy Circle. I would like to take a moment and personally thank and commend Lee, Anita, Marty, and the rest of the planning staff on their Herculean efforts during our recent Charrette Week. Their dedication and long hours spent during that week, as well as the time they are currently and will be spending on the review and revisions to our neighborhood's land use policies. If you recall, this process was initiated to address major changes to land use policy based on a belief that many neighbors were aware and accepting of said changes. This process, while time-consuming, has been extremely useful and engaging. However, we were under the impression that any rezoning applications would be postponed until after the proposed revisions were presented for a vote. For this reason, I respectfully ask this commission to defer this application until after such time as the revisions are completed. To move it forward now would set a precedent allowing other applications to be filed in an attempt to gain approval based on current land use policy that may subsequently change. At this time, I neither really support nor oppose this particular application. I'm just asking for your deferral until after the process is done. Thank you.
My name is Ashanti Davis. I live at 321 Edwin Street. I have missed y'all. I doubt that you've missed me. I doubt that you've missed me. But I actually, I was thinking about it today, I've actually missed doing this. I was actually a part of the charrette. I was on the steering committee. I will tell you, people used vacation days. There were tears. There were yelling. It was hard. And I have a newfound appreciation for what the planning staff does, because as you guys have had this discussion today, everyone has property rights, but everybody's interest isn't the same, right? And so they have a balancing act that is really tough. And so I echo what Stacy said, it's tremendous the amount of work that they put into this. I will tell you that there are a lot of ongoing conversations with my neighbors. There is definitely not consensus. And but we're working towards that, and there's a lot of concern about development in this neighborhood. I would like to highlight that there is an existing pattern under the current zoning. The 2 houses across the street are new homes that were just built about a year and a half ago, and then right behind it on Pullum, 2 new houses were also built, single-family homes. And so, as my neighbor said, this is simply about, we were under the impression and we were told that there would kind of be a chill on zoning changes until after the charrette, and I think to allow this to go through before that process would have an effect, a deterrent on community engagement, because then all my neighbors who took PTO off and then came to all this stuff, it feels like, well, what did it even really matter? And so I just ask that you consider that, and all we're asking for is a deferral. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else speaking in opposition? If not, then I will give the applicant 2 minutes, if you'd like to return.
First off, I just want to say I respect the community plan process, and I certainly have a great deal of respect for the staff and the efforts that they put in. Having been staff previously, I understand it's not easy to be in the middle of a community discussion. And so I really have an appreciation for what they do, and just by observation, they're doing it really well. With that said, at this point, we don't want to defer this. We feel like, again, the request is consistent with the existing policy. It's consistent with, and we've participated in a lot of those public discussions, the charrettes, And we feel like it's consistent with where the community dialogue is going for this corridor, and we'd like to move the properties on. I'll also say that the next item on the agenda is across the street. So whatever you do for this one, it's, I'm sure, going to affect that one as well. So just to save you the question, do you want to defer it? No, we don't. We'd like to move on. We'd like to allow the council member to determine on his own whether to move the bill forward or not. Again, what we're doing, we feel like is consistent with what we're hearing from the community, and we'd ask you to approve it.
Thank you. That will close the public hearing. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to just ask Lee for an update on what's going on with the charrette and the planning process.
Yeah, sure. And Ashanti mentioned that she was on the steering committee in the past tense, but I just want to remind her she is still on the steering committee. And we appreciate all the time they have taken off and all the work that they've done to get us to the point that we are. And we're working diligently to finish this plan amendment that will help guide decisions that you all make in the future. We're still several weeks away. Our next we do have a draft now that we're kind of buttoning up, and we will have it completed in the next week or two. And at that point, we'll reconvene the steering committee and let them give us direct input on that draft before we put it out there on the website and put it out for public consumption and feedback. But we are scheduled to be back with that recommended plan amendment before you all the end of May, the second meeting in May. So, and we did, we felt that with all of the change that this neighborhood has seen in the recent past, and a lot of the requests that have been coming before you, and your request to us to study the neighborhood in more detail and see if we can find some common ground among the neighbors and the development interest in the neighborhood, that our recommendation and we were really successful with a lot of applicants, was to hold off on any zone change requests within the study area. And we were successful on the majority of those, but some of those applicants wanted to move forward, even though we did request that they defer until this process was complete.
Thank you. Others may have other questions, but I wanted just the general overview to get us started. Councilman Bedney, can you get us started?
So a question for Mr. Lehman. Can we actually do a deferral based on that?
Yes, you can. There is not a council bill. No council bill has been filed, and so you can defer this.
So
if a council bill had been filed, then you would have 30 days to act on it from the date of first reading. But since that has not happened, then you are able to defer this.
And there is no infringement on their property rights or taken by deferring this until that moment?
Under the process that we have in place, you can defer this. So, yeah.
All right, thanks.
Commissioner Michelle?
Would the applicant consider deferring? Are you also the applicant for the other one? Yeah, would you consider? Yeah, but I'm asking him again.
The property owner is really concerned about basically the rug being pulled out from under. The community plan was changed, upgraded, if you will, to neighborhood evolving 2-3 years ago. And it sent a strong signal that this neighborhood wanted reinvestment. So he bought the properties based on that, with the idea that, yeah, we can redevelop this property and gain some entitlements. And so, with that intent, he wanted to move forward. He's just really concerned about, again, the rug being pulled out from underneath him with some last-minute amendment to the policy or to the community plan update. What I have to tell you is no, he doesn't want to defer it. If you are going to defer it, we'd really like a date certain, if you will, that we bring it back to the commission.
What's the day what's the anticipated date? It's May 10th?
May 24th.
May 24th. So if we did defer till after this, it would have to be what day? till after that, May 24th date?
June 14th.
June 14th. Well, I would be inclined to defer because I think we went through this whole process very intentionally, and I've driven, as I've been doing now these days, up and down that street, and I would be willing to bet that the plan will still allow your owner to do what he wants to do, as I think it would probably be an improvement to those lots, but we really need to let the community form their plan and then go forward with that. So I would be inclined to vote to defer. So I'd like to hear what other people say. I could change my vote at the very last minute.
Commissioner Tibbs?
Not to be redundant, but I definitely would say defer it just because we've started this process with the community, and it seems like we would be, pulling the rug out from them as they've trying to work so hard to have input in it. And then if, kind of like what we did with Music Row, I know that was a little different, but similar in the fact that we went back and studied and we kind of said, let's put a chill on things while that's happening. So I would definitely vote for deferral.
Well, I think in contrast to Music Row, the nice thing too with this is that we have a pretty set date.
Yeah.
It's not 8 months out when Nashville Next is over. Commissioner Sims?
I want to thank Mr. Harmon and Ms. Davis for your incredible perseverance. And I do think you guys are involved in this neighborhood, and I don't want to do anything that will even appear to the neighborhood that we're pulling a rug out. It was our request to our staff, and they're working diligently. I also have lived in a neighborhood that switched from RS5 to R6A, and it is a massive change to the neighborhood. So without clearly letting the neighborhood understand what this is not a minor change, this is huge. So I think we've got to at least give our staff and our neighbors time to look at this. So I'm all for a deferral.
Commissioner Gobble?
Thanks. I can go along with a deferral as well. I'm a little concerned about that, but it does make sense.
Commissioner Moore?
I agree, so I move to defer until the June 14th meeting.
It's a proper motion. Do I have a second? Any other discussion? All in favor? So it looks like we have unanimous. Okay. How do we, since item 17 is the same, do we do the whole presentation, or do we?
I think it's the same. You can ask the applicant if they would be willing to defer.
Will you be willing to defer? Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so we need a motion on item 17 to add that to the deferral.
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second? And this is a deferral again to the June 14th meeting. All in favor? Okay, motion carries. All right, final item is item 18.
All right, item 18 is a request to rezone from AR2A to RS 7.5 zoning on property located at 2544 Una Antioch Pike, approximately 590 feet north of Moss Road on 4 acres. The site is outlined in red, and for context, here is Una Antioch. I-24 is further to the west, and then Moss Road is down here to the south. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Here's another view of the vacant site. So the current zoning district is AR2A. The surrounding area includes single-family land uses north and south of Moss Road and here, and east of the subject site. And then lower intensity residential and agricultural uses north in the AR2A zoning district. And then along the Una Antioch Pike corridor, you have mixed residential and community and institutional development. The site is outlined on the screen for easy identification. The proposed zone change is consistent with the T3 Neighborhood Evolving Policy and the T3 Neighborhood Evolving, the Supplemental Policy Area, which are the primary land use policies at this site. Guidance from the Supplemental Policy Area suggests that the gross density of the area should be similar to surrounding properties that are in the RS 7.5 zoning district. And this is consistent with the rezoning request. The supplemental policy area is located, I know there's a bunch of colors on your screen, but this red outline area in here. And it applies to undeveloped land within the neighborhood evolving policy in the Rural Hill Moss Road neighborhood. The supplemental policy is intended to provide guidance for redevelopment through appropriate building types, coordinated access, and with an enhanced focus on connectivity. Additionally, the Antioch Priest Lake Community Plan includes a detailed transportation plan for future development in the area, specifically within the supplemental policy areas. Guidance from this transportation plan indicates a need for a more comprehensive transportation system with interconnected streets and a cohesive block structure. Rezoning to RS 7.5 will create more opportunities for enhanced vehicular and pedestrian connectivity consistent with the policy guidance for the area. The site is outlined or is colored in this light yellow, and you'll notice these dark blue lines going through the site, and the blue lines indicate streets, potential future streets. So before I go to the next slide, I also want to point out this parcel here to the south. I just want you to notice the relationship between the subject site and the property to the south on Moss Road. So the site is outlined in red this time, and it doesn't currently have any public street frontage. However, it is located directly north of an existing RS 7.5 zone parcel here. That was recently approved by the Planning Commission for development of a single-family subdivision. And one of the main areas, the main focus that we worked on with this subdivision was setting up those public street networks. And so you'll notice that there's a public street that stubs into the site here, which is consistent with the guidance from the detailed transportation plan. And it emphasizes the importance of developing that street network within the community. So once this property is rezoned to RS 7.5, access to the site can be achieved by connecting through the adjacent subdivision, which connects you to Moss Road, which is, again, consistent with guidance from the transportation plan. Single-family residential development at this site will provide additional opportunities to connect to adjacent properties and also to the surrounding area, allowing for improved pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular connectivity. Rezoning from AR2A to RS 7.5 will allow the site to redevelop in a manner that is consistent with the surrounding area and with the policies of the surrounding area and with the context. So therefore, staff recommendation is to approve with conditions.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is the applicant here? If you can come forward, you'll have 10 minutes. Please start with your name and address. And it's the one that looks like a voice in the middle of the microphone.
The other one.
Microphone, yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Luciano Scala. My address is 1838 Otter Creek Road. Basically, it's just the idea is to continue with the same plan, with the same concept plan that is south to it, and open, connecting more land. That land right now is kind of locked in, so there's not much to say. It's just opening the area and following the concept plan that they have for it. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone here to speak in favor of this item? Anyone speaking in opposition? If you can come forward. You'll each have 2 minutes. Please state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Michelle Etling Berkebile. I reside at 2540 Una Antioch Pike, which actually directly abuts this property in the northwest corner. And we oppose this proposed rezoning due to multiple concerns on several fronts. The first one being the current traffic situation in this neighborhood. As just mentioned, the property directly south of this one was recently rezoned, and there's plans to rebuild several units. I didn't get the exact number for those units. There have been multiple sites being developed in the area, opening up, and others that are still currently in the building phases has dramatically impacted traffic there just in the 18 months since we purchased the property there. The second concern is one of our reasons for purchasing in this area is because it's one of the last bastions of green space in Antioch that's not in a flood zone. And we were attracted to the rural agricultural zoning of this property. I was very surprised to see the transportation plan. It includes a road that's going right through our current property. And while I agree that this area desperately needs traffic improvements, we need to have those improvements take place before we consider building out future. Final concern is water. There's stormwater drainage issues already. This site is uphill from our home and would contribute to that issue.
My name is John Berkebile. I also reside at 2540 Una Antioch Pike. And in support of what my wife said, traffic is an issue. And it's an existing issue that should be addressed before all the rezoning could compound the issue even more. I ask that we defer this approval until we can address this traffic issue as well as the drainage issue. Being on the side of the hill, we're not in a flood zone, but drainage coming down there, it would create more of an issue than what is there. And there's already drainage issues within a mile of this location. Just, you know, I guess that's it. You know, I feel a little emotional about it, and this kind of caught us off guard. I'm not sure how this procedure works. I'm relatively new to the Nashville area, and I think it's a wonderful place. And I'm all for moving forward with developing as long as we address the issues and maybe, you know, just don't put the cart before the horse, I guess, is what I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else speaking in opposition? If not, if the developer would care, you have 2 minutes for a rebuttal. Okay, then we'll declare the public hearing closed. And Commissioner Haynes, can we start with you?
No comments.
Commissioner Sims? No comments. Commissioner Gobble?
I always comment, but it kind of makes sense what the staff's recommending, so I can go along with that.
Commissioner Moore?
I agree. I mean, it is in a neighborhood involving policy, and I assume some of the concerns they brought up, like with stormwater, that's addressed when any of it development takes place anyway. So I'll support staff's recommendation.
Commissioner Tibbs?
I will support staff recommendation, but I do understand the, you know, the neighbors' concern about it, because right now it's nothing. And could you go to the slide that has everything on it? It is it's going to be a pretty transformative of their neighborhood very, you know, relatively soon. But it is a landlocked area. You know, this other area has already been approved that's contiguous with it. So it's hard for me to be, you know, to vote against it, and I'll support it, but I do understand the neighbors' concern, and, you know, especially understanding course, you know, we have a traffic issue everywhere, but, so, I will be in support of it.
Commissioner Michelle?
I definitely also understand their concern, and I can see how there is a big chunk surrounding them that is very rural, and yet there's also a big chunk right across the street from them and just south of them and over on the other side that is set up to be just like this zoning. So I do feel for them. I think that I would be upset if I were them, but I do think that this makes sense to rezone this in concert with the one that's already been rezoned, so I would support staff recommendations.
Commissioner, Councilman Bedney?
No comment.
No comment. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, I do want to thank the residents for coming down, and their concerns are definitely valid. There's a lot of open space, and I know that that's getting rapidly developed around Nashville, so it's definitely something that we think long and hard about.
Now, I wanted to point out one thing. One of the objectives of the policy here is to set up a future street network, so there are more options on transportation, so you don't have to just go to the main thoroughfares to get somewhere, that there's more connectivity that will lead to better options for getting around in this neighborhood over the long term when this area develops out under the evolving policy. So that is the long-term goal of this policy as it develops, is to provide more options for traffic and for people to go different directions.
Good, thank you. So I need a motion. Does anybody care to be the one to make a motion?
I move approval.
Move approval of, okay. We have a motion and a second to support staff, to approve staff recommendations. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. I think that we are on to our other business items. Let me look back at what comes first. I always forget, because you're all here, so we can ask for your updates. Commissioner Haynes, would you like to give us an update on your?
A lot going on at Parks.
Okay.
We just approved acquiring some new land in the southeast, which was a donut hole in the middle of the large new park. So we are active at Parks.
Exciting. Commissioner Tibbs, would you like to update us on anything?
Only that also our meeting will also be relocated to the Midtown Precinct next Wednesday, April 18th.
That's the Metro Historic Commission.
Yeah, Metro Historic Commission.
Okay, thank you. And Councilman Bedney, I know your life isn't interesting down at City Hall.
No, nothing happens. But we were going to, as I mentioned at the last meeting, I called the special meeting of the Planning Committee together with the Ad Hoc Affordable Housing Committee to talk about transit-driven developments, TODs. And the meeting is going to include MDHA representatives, planning staff. Thank you for the staff for accommodating. Also, members of NOAA and Welcome Home, the Chamber, and the idea is to engage in a conversation about the impact of this and how to remain inclusive. The meeting was going to happen tomorrow, Friday, at 3 p.m., but because of this deferral, we decided to postpone the meeting, and there will be an announcement later. But for the people that are interested in how do we engage in this concept of building transit-driven developments across the city and making sure they're equitable, I encourage you to keep in touch and make sure that you know when the meeting happens so you can attend and be part of it. Thank you.
And how would people find out? I mean, is it on the council website?
Yes, it'll be posted on the council calendar.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything on your
Just
end?
another reminder, our next meeting, April 26th, will be across the parking lot at the school board.
Okay.
And the May 10th meeting will be at 936 East Trinity Lane at the East Police Precinct.
And how about next week?
And next week is the CIB meeting on April 19th at the Parks Board.
At the Parks Board.
At Omen Drive. So we're all over the city right now.
Okay, and we will be.
Trying to challenge us geographically right now.
We're going to learn.
Introduce us to the city.
Okay, anything else before we adjourn? If not, we will go ahead. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any second? All right. See you next week.
Thank you. Good job.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.